Chair, another roll call for the Budget and Finance Committee of the Navajo Nation Council, regular meeting, July 6, 2021. Jamie Hinu, and your location, please. Jamie Hinu, and your location, please. Raymond Smith Jr., and your location, please.
Present, Norfolk, Virginia.
Okay, thank you, Chairman, Vice Chairman Raymond Smith Jr. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, and your location, please. Jimmy Yellowhair, and your location, please.
Go here in Window Rock, Arizona.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair. Honorable Elmer P. Begay, and your location, please. Honorable Elmer P. Begay, and your location, please. Honorable Amber Kennesbach Crotty, and your location, please. Honorable Amber Kennesbach Crotty. Honorable Nathaniel Brown, and your location, please. Honorable Nathaniel Brown, and your location, please. Vice Chairman, we have 2 members present, 4 members not entering upon roll call. Vice Chairman.
Vice Chair Chair Smith, Vice Chair Smith, can you ask somebody to mute their phone? Vice Chair, I see that Chair Guineo is on the call. Nathaniel Brown and Jimmy Yellowhair and yourself. So we do have a quorum, but I'm not sure why they're not answering.
Hakushisha there? Well, we don't have a quorum.
I was muted here. Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, we can hear you, sir.
Yes.
Oh, good. Mia, thanks. Ramona, are you there?
Yes, I am,
Ramona.
Chairman.
Okay, could you do it? Would you do an official roll call for us right now?
Sure, Chairman. Budget and Finance Committee of the Navajo Nation Council, regular meeting, July 6, 2021. Jamie Hinu, and your location, please.
I'm president, and I'm president in Grants, New Mexico. Now on my way to Chile.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. Vice Chairman Raymond Smith Jr., and your location, please.
I'm present and still at the same location stated earlier.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, and your location, please. Jimmy Yellowhair.
I'm here in Window Rock.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair. Honorable Elmer P. Begay, and your location, please. Honorable Elmer P. Begay. Honorable Amber Kennesbach Crotty, and your location, please. Honorable Amber Kennesbach Crotty. Honorable Nathaniel Brown, and your location, please.
Yeah, it's a 2. Delegate Brown present. I am parked right here in Window Rock by the chambers.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Nathaniel Brown. Chairman, we have 4 members present, 2 members not entering upon roll call. Chairman.
Chair Hideo, we have 4 that makes a quorum, or vice chair, one of you.
Dang, this thing keeps muting me. Thank you for that roll call. We do have a quorum. Therefore, it's July 6, 2021. It is 10:12 a.m. And I'll call this meeting to order of the Budget and Finance Committee. And so with this, as we move along, we do have an invocation that we need to adhere to. So with this, they'll get yellow hair.
Guys, it's on unmute, not it's a phone. Something wrong with the phone. Anyway, that's it. Yeah, that's yes, it's all cross che has has wants che has your question my son can imagine of the in the constitution so the go stipend so it's not the job in the court has changed to be as of the constitution on in the constitution of the court for things can and it has on the tanaway has croye now can't a cro agenda con na and hadis ko is to con a July 6 go your car Contronian is not Kinani President Finance Committee. They never based upon it, in art on that upon it based on that a personal right. Once when you can't deal with Aaron the Conley, you get a find though a con the Torah can't a cut out a in that deal restored to not get that a card chan hidden there. Art for a torta stand that got this to my heart. I don't have a good working relationship with NTUA2. Korea cash not honest. Celebrate Hassan Tahi Hinio on the Vice Chairman Smith on the honor of the case Serlo, Daniel Brown and Shmayas and Cry. Korea. You know that it is Chiroyat Evan Kadicha. Koron, you know, it has the Katoyat El Pro Nihiri Ta. Amen.
Go shake here now. Anjuna Khatsadin Zuni Penidi. I know Congress now on it. Johnny Junashi, Independence Day of the holiday had the city each time. Even Najaya could always continue with our business. Next one is recognizing gifts and visiting officials. Today we have our staff with legislative branch, Peggy Nakai and Ramona Nelson that's here with us. The Budget and Finance Committee members that are present. The Bishop Anisha Daisa for the record. I don't hear any.
Chairman Henyo, this is Delegate Crotty. I'm on the line for the record. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We do have 5 members present now. So somebody please mute your phone, please. Okay. Do we have our Office of Legislative Service Council on the line? Our Legislative Council. Is there anybody from Office of Legislative Council on the line?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is Laureline Tapahi with Legislative Council.
Good morning, Laureline. Thank you for being on the call. The Department of Justice.
Good morning. This is Rudy with the Tax and Finance Unit, Department of Justice.
Good morning, Rudy. Thank you for being with us this morning. I know, do we have the office of the president, vice president on the line? The office of the president, vice president? Okay, with that, moving down, do we have the office of the judicial branch, office of the chief justice on the line? Okay, so moving down. Yes.
Chair, this is Karen Francis.
Good morning, Karen. Thank you for joining our call this morning, our meeting. And then moving down, do we have the office of the controller, Navajo Nation office of the controller on the line?
Good morning. This is Laura Johnson with Office of the Controller.
Good morning, Ms. Johnson. Do we have the Office of Management and Budget on the line, Mr. Dominic Bial?
Good morning. This is Lisa Jim with OMB. Dominic should be here shortly. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Lisa. Thank you for being on the call with us.
This is Cordell. I'm on the call also. Good morning.
Good morning, Cordell. Okay. Do we have the Office of the Navajo Nation Tax Commission on the line? Do we have Mr. J.T. Willie, Division Director for Division of Economic Development on the line?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair. This is JT.
Good morning, JT. Good to hear you. And I believe we do have the controller on the line and also Mr. Bial, who's our presenters for today. So with that, let's move forward to the agenda. If there's anybody I missed, please announce for the record who is also on the call with us.
Mr. Chair, this is Robert Willie, also from the Controller's Office. Good morning.
Good morning, Robert.
Hi, this is Charlene from Project Development.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chair. This is Delia Helena. I'm online.
Good morning, Shananta. Good morning.
Oh.
Chair, do you want me
So let's move forward to the agenda now. We do have a proposed agenda before us today. Peggy, if you would read the agenda into the record for us.
Okay, the proposed agenda for the Budget and Finance Committee of the Navajo Nation Council, July 6, 2021. It's a regular meeting via teleconference. Presiding is Jamie Henio, Chairperson, Vice Chairperson Raymond Smith Jr., Place, Window Rock, Navajo Nation, Arizona via teleconference. 1, call the meeting to order, the roll call, the invocation. 2, recognize guests and visiting officials. 3, review and adopt the agenda. 4, review and adopt the journal. None. 5, receive reports. A, update on Rhino Health Glove Manufacturing, presented by J.T. Willie, Director, Division of Economic Development. And then B, update on the CARES Fund Hardship Assistance Fund, presented by Elizabeth Begay, Acting Controller, Office of the Controller, and others. C is FY 22 Budget Process Update, presented by Dominic Bial, Director, Office of Management and Budget. 6, old business, none. 7, new business. A, rescheduling regular meeting date of July 20, 2021. 8, close of the session. Written announcements, adjournment, Mr. Chair.
Christine, you got for reading that proposed agenda to us. For the record, Shananta, Budget and Finance Committee members, is there a motion to accept the agenda as read?
Yellow hair will motion.
Discussion Delegate Jimmy Yellowhair motions to accept the agenda as read. Is there a second? Second, Vice Chair Smith.
Second by Vice Chair Smith. We do have a motion and second on the floor to accept the agenda. Sinanta Budget and Finance Committee, are there any questions or comments regarding the agenda?
Chairman,
Delegate Yellowhair.
I would like to, I think this is kind of related to a agenda on B. So on the receiving report is hardship assistance fund. I'd like to also request for there was a donation that was made to COVID-19. We need that. How much money is their donation year to date and what's happening with the money? That is donation money from different companies. To the chair.
Okay. Actually, when our controller, navigation controller, acting controller comes on, I didn't know if you say that.
Yeah, thank you for the record. Thank you very much.
Sinanta Budget and Finance Committee, there was a request that came in from Chair of the Law and Order Committee, Chairwoman Charles Newton, requesting for the Budget and Finance Committee to hold a PTF session for the Northern agricultural projects. I guess the San Juan Farm Board is requesting for information. So if we can put that on the calendar, schedule a meeting on the new business, that's for your consideration, Sinanta Budget and Finance Committee. Are there any further questions or comments, committee members?
Chair, this is Peggy. I'm not a committee member, but I have a question.
Okay, Peggy, you have the floor.
The report that Mr. Yellowhair asked for on the donations, I believe that report would come from the DOJ, Department of Justice. Doreen McPaul, their office has been handling that donation. Rudy, I heard that you were on the call, or Mel. Can you see if that's the case? If they're still overseeing that fund, donations that were made for during the pandemic?
This is Rudy, Tax and Finance Unit. I'll double check and check on who is in charge of donations at this time.
Okay, thank you for that, Rudy. So we'll during the controller's report, we could have Ms. McFall available if there is a question that question comes up, and if we do need Department of Justice to weigh in, then we'll ask for that at that time.
And then, Chair, on the second item for the PTF, that's not really a budget and finance item at all. It's PTF citizen. So we can just call a meeting on that if you want to.
Oh, I see what you mean.
I see.
We'll go that route. Thank you for that.
Well,
Budget and Finance Committee. As there's no further questions or comments on the agenda as read, I'll call for the question. Ramona, if you would lead us in a roll call vote to accept the agenda.
Is there a second? Oh, that was Vice Chair, right?
Oh.
And then is there an amendment to that? Is that
No.
just going along with the motion for the donations?
That was just a request, and it'll be part of the controller's report.
Okay.
Ramona?
Okay, Chairman, roll call vote for approving the agenda. Honorable Raymond Smith Jr., how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Raymond Smith Jr. votes green. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote?
I'll vote green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair votes green. Honorable Amber Kenneth Crotty, how do you vote?
Delegate Crotty votes green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Amber Kenneth Crotty votes green. Honorable Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote? Honorable Elmer P. Begay. Honorable Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote? Honorable Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote?
Okay, I'm unmuted. Delegate Brown votes green.
Thank you. Honorable Nathaniel Brown votes green. Chairman, we have 4 members voting in the affirmative, 0 opposing, chairman not voting, and 1 member not voting. Chairman?
Katrina, thank you for that roll call vote. We do have our agenda before us today. Budget and Finance Committee voted 4 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting. Delegate Elmer P. Begay is present for the record. So with that, let's move forward on our agenda. We do have next item is receiving reports. There's none. Receiving journals. There's none. Though moving down to item number. Next item is receiving reports. We have item A, a report from the Navajo Nation Division of Economic Development. Mr. J.T. Willie. Mr. Willie is on the call with us this morning. He answered roll call. So with this, Mr. Willie, for Division of Economic Development, please provide us with a report that's on the agenda. You have the floor.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much for the opportunity to provide report this morning. I do apologize. I was at a signing ceremony for the legislation to reopen the parks here on Navajo, as well as to rescind some of the legislations that were put in place to prevent COVID-19, the pandemic era. So as we move forward, I'm looking forward to working with our businesses on getting them opportunities, as well as inviting our tourists back to the Navajo Nation. Mr. Chair, at this time, I do have the presentation assigned to Ms. Charlene Begay-Platero, who works within our project development. She did enter roll call earlier. She is our industrial development specialist. She's under the office, which is managed by Mr. Tony Perry, Anthony Perry, within the Division of Economic Development. And I would like to also at this time extend my gratitude to Ms. Begay-Platero for her efforts in working with this project from its inception to where we are at today, as well as also the continuation of support into the phase 2 of the factory. A lot of the conversations in regards to the development of this particular project within the Navajo Nation has been administered through the efforts of Ms. Begay-Platero, and has been very well at keeping us updated as to what's been progressing through the timeline that has been identified, as well as working, as we know, through the pandemic and getting things back on track. So as we move forward with this presentation, Ms. Platero did prepare a PowerPoint PDF slide and does have a video that I'm also ready to show as well, if you are on the Zoom application itself. So at this time, Mr. Chair, I would like to turn the time over to Ms. Charlene Begay-Platero.
Thank you, Mr. Willie. Are you able to hear me well?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Maybe speak up a little louder.
Okay, hold on. Turn up my volume. Can you hear me better, Chair?
Maybe a little bit better, a little bit higher, Charlene.
How about now?
Sounds good.
Okay. On the screen, I shared a digital rendering, since we're doing everything by Zoom and phone calls these days and web services on the internet, it shows the rendering of the facility. And as you can see, on the top part of it is the zero-scaping, people going into the facility. And then that is showing that the design is like showing where we're planting and harvesting a product. So those colors are all in there to show that, and that's the initial colors on the facility on the outside. So the brown represents the ground, Mother Earth, and then you see the blue and the other colors representing the earth and water and the sky. And as you go down, if you see the bottom left, it shows the production line where we use water to grow our product. And then at the end, on that bottom middle, it shows the warehouse, and that's when you harvest your product and you send it out to market. And then, so that's the rendering, the digital rendering. And at the end, I'll show the video. I understand that the digital rendering and the YouTube video link was sent to your email, so you can see that at your leisure. I am with project development, and this project is an expansion of our current tenant, Rhino Health, to construct a 100,000 square foot facility. We are doing our best to try to keep within that amount of square footage, and trying to work with the tenant to cut down square footage sizes on different sections of their product line. As a project manager, what we did first is we have an architect. We hired an architect, went out for RFP, and working with an architect, and our architect of record is Indigenous Design Studio and Architecture, which is owned by Ms. Tamara Begay. The design schedule has been on time. The schematic design is 100% complete, and the construction sheets are about 95% complete. The project is now in the design development stage. Meetings with us and the tenant and the architect are held every other Tuesday. We also have had 2 meetings this past spring with all the utility companies associated with this facility, as well as with the subcontractors who are working on the design of each discipline and working on updating the drawings. As a result of a meeting in May, the department and the architect organized smaller meetings because it was hard to do on Zoom, to have smaller meetings with the facility so that they can come and physically look at the manufacturing processing. In early June, we also worked with Navajo Water Management, the architect, and with NTUA to discuss a wheeling agreement with the beginnings of the conversation, whereas with NTUA will have a wheeling agreement with the city of Gallup, and the water will come from the Twin Lakes well through the Gallup regional water system to the factory for this phase 2 initially. And then secondarily, we're waiting on the Gallup Navajo water project. As I've told you in the past, line 277B, when the appropriations come down with Bureau of Reclamation, that will continue and work from that line to a connection we call to the industrial park. Also, during this time, we worked with the civil engineering subcontractor to research and produce a recycling report for this project. The goal is to recycle the consumption of what the water intake by 80%. And the report is for us to be good stewards of the water to be consumed for the production processes. Design plans include an industrial wastewater treatment plant. The city of Gallup and NTUA are not willing to obtain USDA financing to build a plant. NTUA stated that they only have experience in operating domestic treatment plants only. So the plant will be operated by the tenant. The estimated cost of this plant will be paid by Rhino Health. The CEO acknowledged the financial commitment. The Rhino Health, through our department, applied for a loan with the New Mexico Environmental Department for $3 million. That's the proposed price. The department supported the application with a support letter and, of course, using our recycling report to the New Mexico Environmental Department. We're still awaiting an award. The following has also been completed regarding the design portion of this project. Is the geotech report has been done, the traffic impact analysis report is done, schematic design overview and design sheets for the facility, and we've received verification from McKinley County Rural Addressing Office on the address of the facility. In order to save money for this large project, we did the construction management at risk construction method. We went out for a proposal for qualifications, and we through a review and scoring with the Navajo Engineering and Construction Authority, or NECA, was chosen to be the CMAR construction company. The contract right now includes a lump sum for pre-construction services. And now we're concurrently working with the design as the construction contract with the department. And then once we do that, the contractor will develop a guaranteed maximum price. Once the guaranteed maximum price is accepted by us, the price will be incorporated in the contract as an amendment, which will include construction costs and will determine the lump sum fee for construction services. The construction schedule will be available mid-July by NECA. The notice to proceed was issued May 19th of this year, and the proposed end date is September 1, 2022. We've had 5 meetings thus far with the department, the architect of record, IDSA, and NECA. The plan for the next year and a half is to meet every other Tuesday. So the pre-construction cost, for your information, is over $128,000. And NECA agrees to 100% performance bond. The following is the anticipated milestones that we have set for ourselves for this project. Schematic design completed in April, design development to be completed in August, construction documents in September of this year, and we propose to commence September 2021 to start construction. And as I said before, the substantial completion date will be in September 2022. Because of the post-pandemic volatile construction market, the department requested funding for water and sewer for this facility and the industrial parks tenants here at Church Rock from the following. Of course, the DED ARP plan. We also applied to the Division of Economic Community Development's ARP database, initial calls with Economic Development Administration for a public works grant. And we also met with Senator Lujan last week when he was in the area about the phase 2 infrastructure needs in hopes of inclusion in the proposed congressional infrastructure bill. So now I'd like to show the video. Hopefully I can get this on the screen. Chairman, that's the essence of my report today.
Okay, Mr. Willie?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you very much for that. And also again, thank you very much, Ms. Charlotte McGay-Platero for the presentation. I did send the information to Ms. Nakai for distribution to honorable members of the Budget and Finance Committee. And that will conclude our report, Mr. Chair. Yeah.
I could shake your hand for that report from the Division of Economic Development.
For that, the Budget and Finance Committee, is there a motion to accept the report? Is there a motion to accept the report?
Chair, this is Delegate Brown. I motion to accept the report. Are we going to hear the verbal report?
That was the presentation from Division of Economic Development. They just concluded the report.
Okay, I'll motion to accept the report.
Delegate Nathaniel Brown, motion to accept the report. Is there a second?
Delegate Yellowhair, second.
Ishnanda, Delegate Jimmy Yellowhair, second. There is a motion to accept the report from Mr. J.T. Willie and Ms. McGay-Platero. This is Ishnanda, Budget and Finance Committee. Are there any questions or comments for the report?
This is Delegate Yellowhair. I'd like to ask questions because of this runner health glove manufacturer was, I think we approved this contract last year. And during the COVID-19, the glove supposed to be selling throughout the nations. And I understand that this is not a surgical glove. And the surgical glove, they're the one that's really needed for the COVID-19 during the time. Well, I just wondered that how is business going on anyway? Is it any economic going on with the under JT Willie about any collections or what's the revenue projection? What's really going on? Is business going on right now, or what's the status? And that's my questions, Chair.
Mr. Willie?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you very much, Otto. Ahead to Honorable Yellowhair for your question. We have been in much communication with Mr. Mark Lee, who oversees the rental glove manufacturing company, and they have had been working throughout the pandemic. They have been meeting needs of a lot of orders that have been taking place, not only throughout the nation, but globally. And I don't have any current revenue projections or any kind of revenues that were produced of the company. As I will resource out to get that information and provide it to honorable members. But I do know that we in various updates that we've had with Mr. Lee over the past few months and last year, that he has been providing the gloves there out of the rental glove manufacturing company. In particular to the Navajo Nation, Mr. Lee has also contributed some amounts of donated gloves to various communities, as well as also we did procure some gloves from the company as well at the beginning of the pandemic, because if we can recall that at the beginning of the pandemic in 2020, there was a shortage of the gloves and the face mask, and Mr. Lee was kind enough to offer us his production before it had been sent out to various states throughout the nation, and then eventually providing them internationally to his international customer base. But I don't have any current revenue projections that have showed the sale of the gloves. And I don't know if, Charlene, if you might have any numbers on you, but if you can also provide some feedback.
Mr. Chair and Mr. Yellowhair, this is a private business, so we don't get the financial statements. If we become owners with Rhino Health, we will be able to have those numbers quickly and give those to you. I know that when they first started, they got all their equipment ready in February, and they were doing testing from mid-February to mid-March. And then the pandemic happened and everything closed, and they were inundated with orders because the personal protection was in shortage all across the United States. So they did their best to fulfill orders. Right now, they only make medium and large, and the plans to have 6 additional lines will help them to fulfill large orders. They only make 2 cents on a glove, so they have to make large quantities of gloves in order to make a profit. So when they started the production in like the 3rd week of March, full-fledged, they were sold out until this last April. So now they've caught up with all their orders and working on additional orders. So that's the only financials that I can give you, Mr. Yellowhair.
Okay, Caroline, for that response. Back to the committee. Are there any further questions or comments?
This is Delegate Brown with some questions.
Shananda, Delegate Nathaniel Brown, you have the floor.
Oh, yeah. I'm looking through my email and looking for the presentation or what was forwarded. But one of the questions I had for economic development, Satilla and the team there, is with this Rhino. I know we're talking about the phase 2. I know it was mentioned, but how much money is requested? Is that from the nation? And the other thing is, going back, I know the nation did invest about over, I believe, 19 million in the 23rd Navajo Nation Council for Rhino, and I wanted to know what the profits were since the investment. And I know some of the trade-off was the employment. And I just want the committee members and the 24th Navajo Nation Council to know that this money was not given as a loan, but it was given as a grant, meaning that the initial investment from the Navajo Nation is not going to be recouped directly, put back into CHISN funding. That the nation, the council did approve to give money with none of that funding coming back. So with that, how is the Rhino glove manufacturing company employing our Navajo people, and what is usually the pay range on that? And again, how much would it cost for this phase 2? And then also the water consumption, how much is that going to use at this point? Yeah, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Caroline, for those questions. Any further questions or comments, committee members?
Just a question, Chairman. You can hear me?
You have the floor.
I just thought, one of the questions is this, does the Navajo Nation owns Rhino Health? How is the Navajo Nation involved? JT, Cecilia.
Sheila, back to Mr. Willie and Ms. Platero.
Great. Thank you for that, Mr. Chair. And we'll start off first to answer Shania Honorable Brown's questions. Of course, thank you very much for asking these questions. We will address these questions. Ms. Platero, I know we've had this conversation before, and I know you are prepared with the answers in regards to this. So if you could reiterate for us the process of how we got here and how this project was developed in its timeline up to where we are at today. Ms. Platero.
Thank you, Mr. Willie. As you recall, this legislation from SAYASN was in October of 2019 was approved. And it was 14 million from SAYASN as well as 5 million from the DED sales tax fund. And the payback is in the lease that all the rental payments will go back to the SAYASN fund. And this is the only SAYASN fund that has a payback mechanism to the SAYASN fund, for your information. So it's not a grant to Rhino Health, Mr. Brown. It is to the Division of Economic Development. As developers for the nation, we are what's called like a design built for the proposed tenant, who will in turn also provide employment to our people. As you may not know, unemployment in Eastern Navajo is about 70–75%. So there will be employees from the surrounding areas as well. People who want to commute for their job can do that. Right now, Rhino Health, in the only 10,000 square feet, they hire 35 people. They are open 24/7, 7 days a week, all throughout the year. What have we done is, Mr. Brown, is the report I gave. We hired an architect and we have hired a construction contractor. And we will be the owners of the facility, just like we are with, my example has always been with Raytheon up at the Nappy Industrial Park. The nation over the years since 1989 have built the facilities. There's 2 manufacturing facilities and 1 warehouse. And in those investments from the BIDF, the Business Industrial Development Fund within our division, the payback of each of those 3 facilities rentals go back to the BIDF for the investment. So that is the same thing we're doing with this facility. The water consumption, you caught me off guard. According to the report, is 290,000 gallons per day. And that will include the 80%. So of that consumption, 80% of that water will be consumed and reused through the wastewater treatment plant to be reused again. So that does not include the fire suppression system. So that is the number for Mr. Yellowhair. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much for those responses, Charlene. So I hope that does clarify some of the areas that were questioned in regards to honorable members of the committee. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Response of Division of Economic Development to Budget and Finance Committee, please. When you would given to Rhino Health. It was given to Division of Economic Development to build a warehouse to be leased out to future tenants. And in this case, that tenant happens to be Rhino Health. But if they move out, then we have another space for other tenants to move in. Budget and Finance Committee. Any further questions or comments, committee members?
Chairman Haniel, this is Delegate Crotty with the question.
You have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. If Ms. Platero, can you remind the committee if Navajo Nation is receiving a benefit from the lease payment, can you remind the committee how much has been paid since the allocation and what will be paid in the future? And my second question is, I noticed in your presentation you mentioned our product when you mentioned Rhino Health, and so I'm not sure, and my concern is how close you are to the company, and whether this is, and then if we could have someone who's maybe a little bit more independent, so we could make sure that the information that we're receiving is unbiased, and I'd like to get that information. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, for those questions, back to Mr. Willie.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Shima Honorable Crotty. And Mr. Chair, I'm going to again refer to Ms. Begay Platero for the response.
Hi, it's Charlene again. The product, Ms. Crotty, is about the design of the facility. It's like when you're growing a plant, a product, that's what I was referring to. That's what the design is about using all those colors, about the earth, using the water, going through the production line, going to the warehouse where you're harvesting your product. That's what I was speaking of. I am the project manager as well as the landlord representative for the nation. So I'm sorry if you misunderstood that, but that's what I was describing when I was showing on the Zoom of the digital rendering of the facility. Let's see, the payments, the lease was approved in 2019 by the Resources and Development Committee because it's on fee land. As you know, we had discussions about this at the Budget and Finance Committee. The term is for 50 years and the rental will be $168,000 per year. And that will become year 5. I hope I have the right summary on there. Does that help you, Ms. Crotty? And it will go back to the CEASIN fund.
Okay, thank you for that response.
Thank you for that response from Division of Economic Development. With that, the Budget and Finance Committee, are there any further questions or comments?
Chairman Haniel, this is Delegate Crotty.
Yes, Shinanta, you have the floor again.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Platero Brigade Platero for that clarification. So for year 1, 2, 3, 4, there's no payment, and then year 5, or is it at the end of year 5, beginning year 6? And if I can understand a little bit more in terms of that rate, so it's 50-year. Is a 50-year lease? Is it at the rate of that 160,000 plus annual rate? Is that locked in for 50 years? I'm just not sure, and understanding now with the pandemic and the demand and now the expansion, I'm not clear in terms of how do we get the lease value. Navajo Nation, we invest in different properties in our investment portfolios, and those leases are always, the folks who manage those leases, it depends on the market. So if there's high demand, the prices go up. If there's low demand, it goes down. How did you come to that price? And now seeing that there's a need for expansion, what should we expect in terms of payment and rental? $17 million. No, it sounds like almost $20 million from Navajo Nation, funding from New Mexico. I know this was all discussed last time in the committee meeting, but 35 employees was not promised. I think I wrote down like 150 employees at the very minimum. So I'm just trying to understand what's being presented to the committee and where we're at now and where we want to go forward. I appreciate the response. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Question to Mr. Willie.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Yeah, sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you for the question, Shema Honorable Karate. Just real quick for clarification before I turn it over to Ms. Begay-Platero again, is that the presentation that was that is being asked of us today, that was prepared, is in regards to the facility. As Ms. Platero has mentioned, the build out of this particular property is managed by the Navajo Nation. We are the landlords of all of these facilities, as well as also lands, depending on their statuses and in regards to businesses. We make them attractable, marketable, and develop infrastructure for them so that we can get tenants to occupy these locations. And our project development, as well as our regional offices or small businesses, have business development department take into the effect to build out a lot of these areas for preparation for businesses and opportunities for to come in. There's also the Navajo Nation Shopping Centers Incorporated, who's a enterprise entity, corporation of the Navajo Nation, who do something similar. Of course, they do theirs in regards to shopping districts. And of course, they manage their facilities for tenants, for retail tenants to come in to occupy those spaces, and they collect an annual rent revenue from that. Similar to what we have done here, of course, Ms. Platero, and of course, anybody else within all of our economic development specialists have to take in regards to when it comes to developing some of these agreements with businesses, especially big businesses such as this, manufacturers, is that we want to make it marketable for them to want to do business here. And we are well aware of a lot of the barriers that we face here on Navajo to build out projects, the lack of infrastructure, the lack of all of the common amenities that some of these businesses are used to off reservation. So when they come here, we want to be able to kind of leverage with them on opportunities for development here on Navajo. And of course, that's why I'm understandable that the lease here has an extension from 1 to 4 years, and then after that, collecting an annual rate back to the nation's fund here. Now that we've kind of seen what has happened through the pandemic, we are aware that a lot of these projects, and as well as those off reservation, are taking different innovative approaches to build out economic opportunities, whether it's in rural America, whether it's in the middle of the city of Los Angeles. Here in particular on the Tribal Nation, we have brought before honorable members as well as to leadership some of the recommendations to make some of those changes, and I did provide that presentation during the Navajo Committee meeting that happened back in the early spring in regards to the American Rescue Plan Fund, and also opportunities for us to kind of leverage what we can do for build out here on Navajo and what we need to do to amend some of the laws that are in place. And we've been taking those approaches as we are moving forward. And some of those also include amendments to our plan of operation, which we did. Another one includes amendments to the administrative plan for our business site leases, which the team has been doing in preparation for presentation to our oversight committee. And now moving forward, we have been working with the Navajo Business Opportunity Act to amend that for leveraging, again, the opportunity to innovate the laws in order to really look at promoting Navajo-owned businesses here on Navajo, the entrepreneur, the sole proprietor that's Navajo-owned, because we know what they had missed out under the CARES funds and what we want to be seeing for them when we talk about the American Rescue Plan dollars. So as we move forward, this is an example of some of those projects where it's a big opportunity, and I know it does take some time for its effect to take place here, but in the long run, when you see the layout of what it looks like, it's a good benefit for us. And I think what we can also provide for honorable members is that maybe we're gonna need to provide another presentation from the glove manufacturers themselves, because I am seeing quite a few questions being asked in regards to its operations itself. So then my understanding of today's presentation highlights where we are at with building out what has been invested on behalf of the nation for phase 2. And again, the opportunity for more development here, the needs of water assessments, the needs of additional employment for within the Eastern Agency region. So Charlene, if I could turn it over to you now.
Yes, Ms. Crotty, the tenant is investing operating costs and buying equipment of over $33 million. So that's their investment that they are bringing here. As economic developers, we don't have much incentives for businesses. We can't fully say, I can build you a building, because it took us 18 months to try to get money to build this phase 2. We don't have that design built fund. Now, the BIDF used to be that, but it's frozen. It's been frozen about 3 years now. That's why I said I had to come to Sayson. And we don't have that incentive. The incentive that we do have, Ms. Crotty, as staffers, is that we can give a development period. On trust land, we have a development period up to 2 years for businesses on trust land. On fee land, there is no limit. And I chose just 5 years because of the amount of the $33 million that he's investing to bring his equipment here. And he's committed to also build out the wastewater treatment plant. So, you know, he's investing as well as we are investing. And I forgot the other. Ms. Crotty, do you recall the second time I went to your committee? We put together a report that talked about the multiplier effect, the direct investment, how much that will impact what the nation's investment would be. I'd be more than happy to resend that, and it includes the number of the investment then in 2019 and the impact of the amount of spending and indirect spending of the facility, as in, you know, supplies, as in payroll, for example. I'll be more than happy to share that for the committee again, because we did it as a directive from the committee to show the payback, how the payback will work. How does this investment going to work for the nation? And we had a Navajo small business person put that together for us in the short time frame. So I can resend that to Peggy, and she can get it out to the committee for your information.
You can offer that response.
You can offer that response, and Mr. Willie and your staff, when questions are asked from individual committees on behalf of the committee. And so therefore, in your responses to the committee, from calling out individual committee members by, because we're all one committee here. So remember, be mindful of that. Committee and not calling out individual delegates' amendments. Good. For your reference. Thank you, Mr. Willie, and your staff. Budget Finance Committee members.
Senator Chair Henyo, this is Delegate Crotty.
I got the floor.
I moved. Maybe our next Senator Henyo. I appreciate that. I did want to ask, so if we'll have a follow-up with the business, I'd love to have that conversation again about the multiplier effect and what the reality is. So in terms of Northern Agency and industrial planning, what should we expect to see for Northern Agency as a lot of focus has been given to Rhino and just this particular, the last time that this came before committee, it was my understanding that this was the only industrial development. What are the other developments? Is there any in Northern, Fort Defiance, Chinle, Western? I'd appreciate that answer. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Back to Mr. Willie.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much for that. And Charlene is the, as I mentioned, the industrial sector of our project development. So I'll have her do the response. Ms. Begay-Platero.
Sure. Thank you, JT and Mr. Chair and Ms. Crotty. Other projects, as I said before, I'm the only one in industrial anymore. I'm the lone survivor of industrial development on the res. The projects in Northern Navajo is I work on getting, responding to the Mexico partnership, which is like the recruiting arm for the state of New Mexico. They send out a prospectus to communities and then we respond. This past year has been very quiet because of the pandemic. We received about 6 inquiries today, this day now, because of our participation in a virtual international conference with EDA, with my colleague in Shiprock. So, but that all takes time in working with a company and responding to those. They want certain needs. Most of them, about 90% of them, want to be 20 minutes away from an international airport. The interstate is not, is viable and it is an asset, but like Shiprock and Nappy are far away from Interstate 40. So those, we try and we do send our proposals to that particular inquiry through the state of New Mexico. Right now, with Raytheon wants to expand another 20,000 square feet, and that is on the list for ARP at the Nappy Industrial Park. In Denahozo, we had a RFP site planning RFP. We've had interviews and on the proposals, it took a long time because of the pandemic. We had to keep extending the deadline because of the restrictions, but we have one hired, but we're stuck. Our package is stuck at DOJ. Also at Loop, we have another project for the Loop Industrial Park. And those two, Loop and Denahozo, I received planning money through sales tax. And I'm using that money to hire engineering firms to do design and site planning for those 2 industrial parks. And once those 2 planning contracts are done, I have submitted money to the DED ARP list for infrastructure for those facilities, those 2 industrial parks in Danahozo and Loop. So in Shiprock, I am working on updating the environmental assessment so that it could be up to date. The last one was done in the 80s, so it needs to be updated, and so that we can have a fresher document that shows that the environmental clearances are there, even though we do have a FONSI from the BIA for the entire site. So those are the activities that I do in addition to this construction project. We not only do planning, we do grant writing, we ask our management for money to do little projects like this site planning, for example, and we try to work with our tenants. Like Raytheon, we help them get, because they're an essential business, we help them through Indian Health Service so that all the people could get vaccinated. No one at their facility, which is over 300 people, got COVID. So they are also abiding by the COVID regs of the Navajo Nation, and we asked Dr. Jim if they could remove their masks now, and she said no. So even though they had no cases at all as a business. So those are the things that I do, Ms. Crotty.
Cadla for the response. And with that, back to the Budget and Finance Committee. Are there any further questions or comments?
Chairman.
Who's chairman? Vice Smith. Vice Chair Smith. Thank you, Chairman. We can barely hear you. Sounds like you're in the semi truck. What the heck? Oh, okay, here you right now.
Okay. With questions of Rhino, we funded them $19 million. How far along has that money been used? It's supposed to be an industrial park. Is there any savings from that? And the other one too is they were supposed to be manufacturing latex gloves for the purposes of PPEs. Who do they have contract out? The other question is, how many chemicals have been employed? The big discussion regarding employment opportunity there. And employment was one of the key factors to funding Rhino Incorporated. And is the owner still there? Or did the owner stay? He was the one that wanted to facilitate that and to expand and make that an industrial park. Is he still in charge of that? I haven't heard anything since today. We were discussing it right. If they really utilize their funding to what their intention was. The other one is, what are their plans to 2, 3, 5 years down the road? Is it viable? Is it self-sustaining? And about the EPA factors? I know that was a big concern. We have Rio Virgo running nearby. You well know Rio Virgo is contaminated with uranium. Hopefully none of these byproducts will leach into the Rio Virgo and cause additional clean water violation act regarding Rio Virgo, because that flows down into the western part of Gallup, Mancito, across the state line, Susquehanna, out, and also into Sanders, Chambers, eventually out towards the Colorado River. These are the concerns I have, and I'm hoping I can get a good answer what's going on and how this rhino. I drive by there and I see it's like this operation, but it's like some really small operation going on. It doesn't seem like it's being expanded like it's intended with the industrial park and making it a factory there. Thank you, Chair. That's my question.
Back to our presenter, Mr. Willie, for response.
Yes, thank you for that, Mr. Chair. Otto, thank you very much, Honorable Smith, for your questions. I'm going to turn the time over to Ms. Platero, who has a timeline in regards to response to Honorable Smith.
Yes, Mr. Smith, the money that has spent so far is over 1.2 million for the architecture, and that's to hire all the subcontractors, civil, structural, heating and cooling, electrical, etc. That is under their contract. As I said in my report, for the CMAR is for pre-construction costs right now until we get a GMP. Right now, the contract is for over 128,000 for pre-construction costs. And your comment about environmental, there has been an environmental review based on the EA, which was done, the EA report was done for industrial purposes. So since this is an industrial activity, production activity, that fits into that environmental assessment. And it has been reviewed by Navajo EPA and was signed off by Navajo EPA. So the rumor about them dumping end product in the Rio Perco is not a true statement. The only thing that we've done, I've done as the project person in charge of the industrial park, is I got the railroad to not have a pond behind Cabinet Southwest that collects water but makes the flow of the Rio Perco happen. That is what's causing the flooding there. So I don't know, when you have a business site lease, Mr. Smith, you have to have an environmental clearance. And that wasn't included in the package in the 164 document that was reviewed by all the reviewers, and it was approved by the Resources and Development Committee. And just to elaborate on my answer to Ms. Crotty, is there are 35 people working in phase 1. We haven't finished phase 2, and we hope that over 200 or 300 people will be employed. So the number of phase 1 is just 35 because they only have 10,000 square feet right now to only do 2 sizes of gloves, medium and large. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that response. Economic development. Just committee members, any further questions?
Sure.
Vice Chair Smith?
Yes, Vice Chair, I have a question.
You have the floor, Vice Chair Smith.
Well, thank you. The question was, how many employees do we have? Talking about having a lot of employees on the Rhino site. How many Navajo employees? What are the future? Is it viable? Is contract going on? Selling these rate tickets or anything like that? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Vice Chair, if you could repeat your question. You were breaking up real bad. I couldn't hear your question.
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me now?
Oh, I can hear you now.
Thank you. The question was, how many employees are employed at Rhino? And is the owner still the owner? Came forth and wanted to open this, and DED that's running this, and who's running this? And the contractor, we have a contract for these clubs. Being sold and making a profit, or what are we doing over there? This is the first time we've seen a report on this, and basically responded back with the EA who approved it and provided on the questions that I posed. Thank you, Chair.
I guess you got a follow-up question. Back to Mr. Willie, Division of Economic Development.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry. I tried my best to transcribe what was just mentioned, but I didn't get any of the only thing I heard was the number of employees. I missed the rest after that. So if I could, I do apologize if we could get it reiterated. We can reply, have a accurate response.
Okay, I did capture some of it. I believe the first part of the question, employees does Rhino Health have right now? And I believe that was, but if you can re-answer again. And at the same time, the other one is Mr. Lee. Is he still the owner? I heard that part. And the other part was as far as the construction of the facilities, how many employees are we looking at? So I think that was one part of the, and so maybe if you could do a bit answer that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So to the first part, Ms. Platero did mention that the phase one that we're currently in has about 35 people to accommodate the current facility. Of course, we are still in phase one as mentioned, and then thereafter, when we start getting phase two in place, we'll have a larger pool of individuals working for the facility, averaging about 100 to 200 individuals in place. The phase one employment right now for the salary does start at minimum wage. And again, be mindful that the facility is a 7 days a week operating facility, 24 hours a day, and therefore the opportunity there is expanded beyond normal businesses that take place here on Navajo. The other part is the construction. I don't have those numbers. Charlene, do you have what those numbers are as far as the construction phase of the phase two?
Yes, JT and Mr. Chair, the architect's contract is over $1.2 million. And then, as I said in my report on page 2, the NECA contract for the CMAR is starting off with pre-construction at over 128,000. And once all three of us work together, the architect, the owner, and the construction contractor, to work on the best approach on the price, then NECA will bring that to us. So bringing in a CMAR during the design development is a way to save money, is the norm in construction these days in the United States.
Charlene, do you have the number of possible construction jobs?
I would, the estimate I was given was about 100.
Okay, thank you, Charlene. Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you for the response. I believe Vice Chair Smith, does that answer your question? We could hear for the time being.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're loud.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. The manufacturing of the contract sales and for the future terms of
You came back, get just your bits and pieces again. When you first spoke, he hear you loud and clear, but now it's just like bits and pieces again.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I think I'm in a bad area.
Right there is get to stop there. What Budget and Finance Committee members sent out their comments. Thank you, Mr. Willie, for your presentation, Ms. Brigade Platero. Thank you. And also, with this, Ramon, if you would lead us in a roll call vote to accept the report.
Sure, Chairman, roll call vote for accepting the reports. Honorable Raymond Smith Jr., how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Raymond Smith Jr. votes green. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote?
I vote green. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair votes green. Honorable Amber Kenneth Crotty, how do you vote? Honorable Amber Kenneth Crotty, how do you vote? Honorable Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Elmer P. Begay votes green. Honorable Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote?
Delegate Brown votes green.
Thank you. Honorable Nathaniel Brown votes green. Honorable Amber Kenneth Crotty, how do you vote? Chairman, we have 4 members voting in the affirmative, none opposing, chairman not voting, and 1 member not voting. Chairman?
Thank you for that roll call vote. To have a vote 4 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, to accept the, and so with that, again, thank you, Mr. Willie and your staff for providing us a report. Next on the agenda is the Nation Controller, Ms. Gay, or your staff, to provide a report regarding the hardship funding that was recently passed and signed by the President. Ms. Begay?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name is Elizabeth Begay, and we're here to talk about the Hardship CARES Act remaining balance, the $41 million that will be distributed to enrolled Navajos that have not been assisted on the Hardship 1. So this project will be called Hardship 2. I'm here with Laura Johnson. She will be the lead in managing the Hardship 2. She's working on the portal and also the temporary workers that will be hiring for this project. Also, Rob Willie is linked as well for the donation. That's one area that was asked as well. So with regards to the hardship too, we did a budget transfer so that we can hire temporary workers. And I'm working with the personnel to be able to do a press release on the job fair that we plan to do for the 5 agencies within the Navajo Nation. And for the beginning of the application period, I'm working with OPBP to do a press release. The application period will be August 1st through September 30th. So that's the 60-day period that was part of that resolution that is approved by the president. With that said, I would like to transfer to Laura regarding the situation with the portal. Laura?
Good afternoon, committee and honorable delegates. My name is Laura Johnson. I work with the FMIS system section. Currently, I've been assigned to work under the hardship portal. So to give a little background, we did request from Baker Tilly the portal information. We were assigned, or we were given access to the portal about a week. So we've been working through those portals, just getting familiar with it, looking at the data, how it's set up. We had a number of questions that we were sending to Baker Tilly through Elizabeth, and they're responding. So as of this morning, we did receive information regarding the amount, several different files that contain applicant addresses. So on our end, what we are planning to do, or our goal is to run these checks through the Navajo Nation FMIS system. And for us to do that, we need certain information that we need to lay out in a file. And that file will contain the applicant name, addresses, amounts approved. And once we get all that information out of the Baker Tilly database, then we can, on our end here, run it through what we call a data port file, which we use for all other programs like scholarship, TANF, general assistance. We run those checks currently, so we will be putting that information in a certain format and then uploading it into the system to generate those checks. So currently, as of today, we're looking at the file we just received maybe 10 minutes ago. We're going through it. We would like to do some testing before we actually run the checks. There's a number of different files, and there are several different portals that we're having to work through, but that in itself is a nutshell of what we're going through. I know there is a deadline, and I know we are tasked with this, so we are doing the best that we can, the staff that I have and the people that are working with us on this. So I just would like to reiterate that this will take some time, and we are working through it. We will do the best we can. So with that, I guess I can turn it back over to Elizabeth if she has any other further comments.
Yeah. Thank you, Laura. Just to clarify, Mr. Chair and the Budget and Finance Committee, there's 208 applicants with checks pending. Basically, Baker Tilly approved those applicants. It's just they put the distribution of the checks on pause. But now, once we get the complete file for those 208 applicants, then we can start reviewing them and validating them. Then we can issue the check. For those 279 applicants for which mail was returned and checks are pending, reissuance, I asked Baker Tilly to forward all the mails to the Navajo Nation Office of the Controller Post Office Box so that we can get those returned mails so that we can reissue the checks. And of course, there's also the 1,378 applications with exceptions. And that's the one we will be working on to resolve the exceptions so that once they address the exceptions, then they will be qualified for the comparable amount as the hardship 1 recipients of assistance. For those that cannot resolve their issues, then they will be informed to apply for the second phase of the hardship assistance, which is the phase 2. Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you for that report. Before I call motion second, at a previous Budget and Finance Committee meeting, there was a request for the listing. Also, Mr. Gay.
Mr. Chair, committee members, we can provide a listing for the 208 applicants. We already have their names, and I don't see the chapter affiliation. Maybe we can check if we can include the chapter affiliation for the 208 applicants, the 279 applicants, and the 1,378 applicants for your information. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much. That's Budget and Finance Committee members. Is there a motion to accept the report?
Yellow hair.
Delegate Brown, second.
And second by Delegate Nathaniel Brown. So we do have a motion and second. The floor is open for questions. Delegate Yellowhair.
Well, Chairman and my colleagues, Budget and Finance Committee, I just want to commend, thank you very much for acting a controller, and also Ms. Johnson to assist us, check to be out for the people that really need it. They're waiting for it, and just do your best to get this thing out for the people that to expedite these hardship money. And I look forward. I have confidence in you, all of you. I want to about speed only, but make sure there's no double payment. Further on, we'll keep checking on it with you guys and report this information back to us. So we need to get everybody get paid. That's all, Chairman. Thank you.
Jimmy Yellowhair. Budget and Finance Committee, are there any further questions, comments?
Elmer Pibigay.
Elmer Pibigay.
After Elmer, give me the floor back, please. Yeah.
Yellowhair. Get ready. I'll get Elmer Pibigay. So, Elmer Pibigay, you have the floor.
Yeah, it's Chair Hen. Hello, Ms. Begay, the controller. Good morning.
Good morning.
They'll be expecting a check, or they could be notified that there's some exceptions with the applications. Is it can be notified like that? Is that going to be happening? That how from the prior hardship process that we went through, is it going to be like that? Thank you.
Hopefully, Mr. Gay, we were able to capture the. I hear Ms. Delegate PB on my side. Delegate Yellow Hair, have the floor again. Delegate Yellow Hair, have the floor again. Delegate Jimmy Yellow Hair.
Okay, thank you. Chairman, I'm sorry. It's on mute, this one here. Anyway, I share, Chairman. I don't should know. It's not I don't care hardship. Best opportunity to not to see the what is linking. ARC is stubborn, so kissing the near his hardship. So I don't need to need a deadline. The other that Asian Aroshin Aron that is really about the Shija. Say Aron that is the art of Otas Nation. Try best to get this thing done. Shake Kurosa name Shada is the name Shinatani being a committee. And I have those names. I'd like to turn over the name and the telephone number. Is Laura in addition control that person the Nikat Aja. It also agent Jhodishli name and their telephone number to get this payment to for the people that need money, hardship money. Agent Bahasian. Also I'll put the in our desk we're probably working together with the controller to make sure that we use this money properly and make sure that we have to pay everybody that apply for it. Thank you, Chairman. I'll quit it and go back on mute now.
Okay, Delegate Jimmy Yellow Hair. Back to Ms. Begay, our Navajo Nation Acting Controller. Yeah, one question from Begay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, committee members, Delegate Begay. He was in and out, but I believe he asked about the status of those applicants with the exceptions. So we will notify that they will be informed if they resolve their issue, then they have to of the assistance, which will start August 1st. Review all the applicants by this month, July. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for the Budget Finance Committee members. Is there further questions or comments?
Can you repeat
Chairman,
that?
can you have this to Delegate Cotty?
Okay. First, okay.
Chair, can you repeat that? It was in and out from Controller Begay.
Okay. So is this Begay? Would you repeat your response again? Because you were fading in and out.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair, committee members, Delegate Begay. Delegate Begay was in and out as well, but I gather he was asking about the 1,378 applications with exceptions. And we will try to work with them this month, July, so that if there's issues that they cannot resolve, then they will be asked to apply for the second phase of the hardship. Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you for that response. Okay. With that, back to the Budget and Finance Committee. Delegate Amber Bakari,
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Ms. Begay, I'm concerned, and I understand the thought process is to try to process this second phase of hardship application under the Office of the Controller with your existing personnel. There's so many challenges to get the Office of the Controller to do its everyday assignments and to get things paid out and contracts and again, the last committee meeting I mentioned the amount of staff you have on your SMIS team. I understand there's going to be job fairs, but it is a challenge to get hired by Navajo Nation. Are you going to, I don't know where this funding is going to come from for additional personnel, and how do you plan to expedite the hiring of individuals? Because it looks like this is going to be at least, somewhere in the area of 10,000 transactions, possibly up to 90,000 transactions. So I'm just trying to walk this through in terms of the capacity, because what happens when we don't have the planning or how to implement the program, then as delegates, our constituents come to us, and that was our experience, not only with the last hardship, but also from all of the other vendors that are waiting on action from the controller's office, from the program to issue out checks. Can you help me understand the timeline and who's going to be accountable to make sure that these payments reach the people who've been on the waiting list? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for that question, Ms. Gay, our acting controller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, committee members, Delegate Crotty, for that question. We identified personal savings from OOC's budget for this fiscal year because there's so many unfilled vacant positions, and we're anticipating to hire between 30 to 50 temporary workers. And DPM and the Division of Human Resources, they're willing to help out. We anticipate to hold job fair to streamline the process of hiring temporary workers. And based on that, we're also working on the OOC website so that we can include a link there for the Navajo people to download the application. And right now they're looking at fillable application so that they don't need to come in person to apply. But of course, there's some Navajos we understand that will not have access to computers, so that the temporary workers will really help us in giving out applications and entering it into the system. So that's the plan. So hopefully we can hire the temporary workers right away so that they can help us when the application open up beginning of August. And of course, for printing checks, they will also help temporary workers with our existing staff from cashier's office in mailing checks as well. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you for that response to the question being posed. So back to the Budget and Finance Committee. Are there any further questions, comments?
Chair, this is Delegate Brown.
Delegate Nathaniel Brown, you have to.
It's not us, Budget and Finance Committee Chairperson, Ado, Budget and Finance Committee members. Ada to our wonderful staff, Shema, Ado, Shitsu, and everyone that helps us within the Budget and Finance Committee. My question, Ms. Begay, is I know I've expressed this concern before in our Budget and Finance Committee, which is our Navajo people who have missed out, specifically people whose application never made it to the controller's office, to OMB office. There's literally no trace of paperwork for them. I know this morning driving in, I did get another call, and our Navajo people are looking for, number one, as a phone number where they can call to check up on their application, where if your office did receive them. The second one is the email, the hardship email address. Will that be used again for our people who still have questions? I don't want any one of our Navajo people whose paperwork were lost in the process. Either by mail or I think the craziest thing that might happen is some people might deliberately not turn the application in for them. I would hate to see that, and that's something that I'm hearing also when our people call to verify. So in any ways and means, again, I'm glad that there is plans to hire temporary workers to help. And when is that call-in number going to be functional again? When can our people start calling? And then how can we help as well? So I know before other previous delegates were helping. Is that going to happen again? So that's something that I'm interested in. I don't want any of our people to miss out on this hardship too. So right now, the numbers that you gave us, I believe over 200 and then another 1,000. If that information could be forwarded to us, I don't know if what I'm interested in is if my Kayenta Veterans Organization, I know there was a number of them whose application did not make it there to the office previously. And they're still very frustrated and trying to figure out the system. So we do hear them. So if you can just provide that information on where they can call, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Questions from the doc. Back to Ms. Elizabeth Begay, acting nominee.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, committee members, Delegate Brown. Yeah, the phone number and the email address, that will be part of the press release, informing all Navajos that will be applying for phase 2, what phone number they could call, as well as the email address. And of course, since the government will be open now, and hopefully the process will be much smoother than the hardship one. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that response. The Budget Committee, are there any further questions or comments? If not, I'll call for the question. I'll take up the
Chair,
report.
just a follow-up.
Chair.
And okay. You have the floor.
Follow-up question. I know he had Ms. Begay for your response. I think there's another question that I asked, because for the 280 and the 279, are they going to be notified and on the status of their application? Yeah.
Thank you for the question. That's what we could. Yellow hair.
My question was this morning about the donation pertains to a COVID-19. Just wanted to know we need to receive the status report on donation to a Budget Finance Committee. understand was DOJ have that responsibility. If any information is by acting controller, we can still see a report from her too. Chairman, even I just came in this morning.
Just to remind. Back to our acting navigation controller, Ms. Liz Begay. Two questions.
Yes, Mr. Chair, committee members, Delegate Begay, on the 208 applicants with checks pending, yeah, we will notify them as soon as we find out because those 208 applicants, they were actually approved and the issuance of the checks were just put on pause. But as soon as we resolve this quality control issue of verifying, validating the 208, then they will be issued the checks. And then for the 279 applicants for which mail was returned and checks are pending reissuance, as soon as we get all the mail, it's supposed to be forwarded to the Navajo Nation Controller's PO Box. Then we will notify them that their checks is pending reissuance. And for the donation status, Delegate Yellow Hair question, I have to ask Rob Willie to answer that. Rob?
Thank you, Elizabeth. This is Robert Willie with the Controller's Office. I sent out a list to Peggy and Ramona. I'm not sure if she sent that out to the delegates of the Budget and Finance Committee. But I gave an updated donation amount as of June 30th. The total donations that the nation has received is $10,176,086.79. As you recall, the CJY 52-20 established the COVID response donation fund to house these donations, and then the fund management plan was passed by BFD 43-20. So those were passed, and emergency management submitted a budget during the fund management plan legislation. I also sent that out. So the account number is N01476, COVID-19 response donation. So an amount of $8,893,839 was budgeted. An amount of $1,194,605.74 has been expended, and encumbrance amount of $322,262.26 is encumbered. So the budget balance as of June 30th is $7,376,971. I believe that there's some restrictions on some of the donations, so DOJ would have to speak to that because I know they were working on that portion. And that's the update that I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Willie, for that update. Department of Justice, Mr. Neal.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. This is Mel Rodas. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mel, we can hear you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the update from Mr. Willie on the monetary donations. And I just wanted to kind of give a brief overview of the non-monetary. So donation branch receives non-monetary donations. Occasionally we receive checks for monetary donations that we promptly forward to OOC. In addition, DOJ did initiate the GoFundMe account, and OOC is the entity responsible for making withdrawals from that GoFundMe account. And so OOC's financial data is the most up-to-date and accurate data. In terms of the non-monetary donations, I can say that in FY20, the donation branch received 36,059 units of PPE, and that included 22,989 fabric masks, 266 units of hand sanitizer of various volumes, and then miscellaneous PPE, which would include disposable masks, disposable gloves, gowns, and things of that nature, in the amount of 12,804 units. So again, a total of 36,059 units of PPE in FY20. We've noticed a dramatic decrease in donations of non-monetary items since about April. The donation branch continues to receive some non-monetary donations in the form of PPE and other items. And we do receive phone calls on the donation hotline. Most of those phone calls are requesting letters of receipt that people can use for their taxes to prove that they've made donations. I also want to mention that the donation branch fills out the Form 213 for donations that are received directly to DOJ, and then those Form 213s along with the actual donations are forwarded to HCOC. And then I also wanted to mention that HCOC receives non-monetary donations at the Wellness Center and Shinley Community Center and fills out 213s for those. And then the Department of Emergency Management received donations to Nakai Hall and has records of that. So I have heard that Dr. Jill Jim has assigned a member of the logistics branch of HCOC to compile a report of the non-monetary donations from those various sources. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the committee.
Thank you, Mel Rodis, for that response. That's back to the committee, Budget and Finance Committee. Are there any further questions or comments on the report?
Chairman,
Yes.
this is Dr. Yellow.
Yes, Ocean, you have the floor.
Okay, Nana, to thank you, Mel, about the report, and also Mr. Woolley. Just wondered, when are we going to start spending this money, and what's the real intent for and the purpose, and when we'll be starting to donation money. We're going to start using it. It's being before Budget and Finance Committee. This is my questions to DOJ Chairman. I don't be in that committee members, my colleague. And go back on mute now.
Dr. Young has stated earlier by Ms. Gay, Mr. Willie, Mr. Rob Willie, the budget emergency management, I don't hate the law. So it's an emergency management chance to start spending that money. That's for their emergency management purposes, yeah. But for the parameters, back to the road, what the parameters of the spending for the donation money is? What are the restrictions?
Mr. Chair, this is Mel. Did you say what are the parameters of expending the donations?
What was do's and don'ts?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, can you say that again, please?
What are the do's and don'ts of the parameters? What can we spend it on? Can we not? Mr. Rodis?
Okay, thank you, sir. I will have to pull up BFD 4320 to get the details on that. I can do that right now. But the Budget and Finance Committee approved a budget for the donation funds. I believe Mr. Willie said in the amount of $8.89 million think it was $8,893,839. And so the DM has to expend the funds as budgeted, as BFC approved the funds to be expended. And if I could just have a couple minutes, sir, I'll pull up the fund management plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rhodes. Also, maybe Peggy can help. Didn't wasn't this money obligated to be spent for Department of Health for their payment of their the care, post COVID care? Peggy?
Chair Henio, I emailed you Rob's report, the ones from the controller's office just a few minutes ago. And it looks like on the job status inquiry report, some of the money's budgeted for travel expenses, some of it is for supplies, repairs and maintenance, contractual services, and assistance, and capital outlay. So if you go to the Rob's handouts, that's what it looks like the budget is for this amount, for the account, the donations account.
Okay, Delegate Jimmy O'Hare, did you get that email that Peggy was referring to? Delegate Jimmy O'Hare?
Okay. Yeah. Chairman, it's on mute now. Yeah. Thank you very much for the report, Mr. Woolley. I have the email for the information. Thank you. That information is great and for accountability, what purpose I have to use for those expenditures. Thank you. Could I share?
Thank you for that. Budget committee members, are there any questions or comments? I'll call for the question. Accept the report. Ramon, if you would lead us in a roll call vote.
Sure, Chairman, roll call vote for accepting the report. Honorable Raymond Smith Jr., how do you vote? Honorable Raymond Smith Jr., how do you vote? Honorable Jimmy Yellow here, how do you vote?
I vote green. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Jimmy Yellow here votes green. Honorable Amber Kenneth-Crotty, how do you vote?
Delegate Amber Kenneth-Crotty votes green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Amber Kenneth-Crotty votes green. Honorable Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote?
Delegate Brown votes green.
Thank you. Honorable Nathaniel Brown votes green. Honorable Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote?
I vote green. Vice Chair Smalley votes green.
Okay, thank you. Elmer P. Begay votes green. Honorable Raymond Smith votes green. Chairman, we have 5 members voting in the affirmative, 0 opposing. Chairman not voting. Chairman?
Thank you. Roll call vote. We do have a due pass on accepting the report. 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Okay, thank you, Ms. Elizabeth Gay, Mr. Rob Willie, for your report and response questions. The next item on the list is the budget process. Mr. Thomas, Mr. Shorty, Cordell Shorty. Floor.
Excuse me. The committee, can I make a comment?
Who's this?
This is, my name is Carlina. I'm from Rough Rock. I have a question. I'm called. Hello? Hello?
We're in the middle of a committee meeting, and so we're moving along with reports.
I just have a question.
Do you make it quick, Ms. Carolina?
Chair, she's muted.
Oh, Christina. Christina, let's move to Mr. Dominic or Mr. Dominic.
Mr. Chair, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can see that.
Okay, on the update on the fiscal year 22 budget process. I'll keep my remarks as brief as I can, and this will be an oral report. The Budget and Finance Committee will recall that last week on the 29th, the Budget and Finance Committee approved legislation 0100 with 2 amendments. And that is the legislation for the fiscal year 22 budget process. So that was on Tuesday afternoon. So it was noted shortly thereafter that there was a technical problem with one of the paragraphs in the resolution. And that's the paragraph where it read, attached as Exhibit D, the Budget Instruction Manual, in underscored and overstricken format was attached. Now, the committee will recall that one of the corrections that was made and was presented to the committee on the 29th was a clean copy with all of the various amendments that were suggested up to that time. Therefore, there was no longer any overstriked and underlined version. So that paragraph was no longer correct. So it required the Chief Legislative Counsel to issue a memo to technically correct that particular paragraph. So the language attached to, or that was included, overlined, overstricken, is no longer there. And it simply reads that attached as Exhibit D is the approved Budget Instructions Manual for fiscal year 22. So I mentioned that because that added a couple more days to getting everything finalized and printed. Now on Friday, because we got the finalized resolution, we were able to finish the construction of the BIM document. And so that was done, and we started the printing of the BIM, and it's probably being continued today. And we also issued an email notice to the branch chiefs and their chiefs of staff and so forth, forwarding to them the Budget and Finance Committee budget resolution, which includes the revenue projections, the planning allocations, the budget calendar, the IDC allocations, and we also included the GWA allocation schedule as well. And finally, the fixed cost schedule too. So with that, they were given the basic information they need to start working on their internal budget planning amounts for their divisions and programs and so forth. And that activity is probably underway today. Now, lastly, the budget orientation was scheduled for Friday, and we're just about finished with the OMB report, the orientation report. The orientation report would give an overview to the reader of the entire budget process, the key numbers that I'm mentioning, and then the BIM, some of the changes, and some basic information on how to complete the budget forms, including the external fund forms, the chapter budget forms, and so forth. And that would be put on our website also today. So that, in 3 minutes, Mr. Chair, committee members, is the update as of today. So the budget process is now underway pursuant to the Budget and Finance Committee approving the overall legislation, the BIM, the planning amounts, the revenue projections, and et cetera last week. Mr. Chair, that's the update at this point. Thank you.
Yeah, I got cut off again. This is I was trying to make a
Chair Henio, the OMB is done with their report now.
Okay, thank you. I was trying to unmute myself here. Can you
Yeah, for the report. Mr. Bill. So, is there a motion to accept the report?
Motion. Delegate Elmer-Peavy-Gay.
Motion,
Elmer-Peavy-Gay motion.
Yeah.
Chair Henio, I didn't hear what you said. What was your comment?
Motion by Delegate Elmer-Peavy. Is there a second to accept the report? Is there a second?
Yellow hair.
Chairman. Yellow hair. So we do have a motion, and we do have a second to accept the report from Mr. Dominic Biel. With that, committee members, Budget and Finance Committee, are there any questions? Report.
Could you repeat who made the second and the motion, please?
Motion by Delegate Elmer-Peavy-Gay, second by Delegate here. Did you get that? Are there any questions or comments on Budget and Finance Committee members?
Can I ask a question? I've been trying to ask.
No, please. I'll give you time after the report is over. So please hold on.
All right. Okay, I'll wait.
Miss Carlina, was it?
Yes,
Is
Chair.
that your name? Okay. Oh, Budget and Finance Committee, are there any further questions or comments?
This is Delegate Yell here, Chairman.
Delegate Yellow here.
Hear you. Tell you so.
Delegate Yellow here. Yep, floor.
Okay, thank you very much, Chairman. I don't have any questions. Sounds great. What Mr. Bial is doing for FY22 budget, the budget instructions. So I don't have any questions. And so about still just elaborate all the stuff what's needed all the time every year. The budget instruction manual. So for me, I'm relaxed, just waiting for my colleagues to other issues they have. I'm ready to vote. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that comment. Delegate Eugene Silva, I heard on the call.
Oh, yeah, this is sure. Only one question to Bial, a tracking number. All I need the number. Thank you.
Oh, for the Budget and Finance Committee resolution, yes, and
Oh.
Okay. Peggy, do you have the tracking number for that one?
Chair Hideo, what was the question? I'm sorry, I missed your question.
Mr. Bial, do you have the tracking number for that resolution you were referencing?
Yes, sir, I do. The resolution number of the Budget and Finance Committee is BFJN-21-21.
Thank you, Hio and Bial. Thank you.
Chairman Henio?
Yes,
Chairman Henio, this is Delegate Crotty. I didn't understand can you repeat what Delegate Yellowhair said?
He is just being grateful to the presentation and accepting the BIM and to move forward, and he's ready to vote. Any further questions or comments from the Budget and Finance Committee? Thank you, and we'll call vote. I'll call for the question. Ramona, if you lead us in the roll call vote.
Chairman, roll call vote for the accepting the report. Honorable Raymond Smith Jr., how do you vote? Honorable Raymond Smith Jr., how do you vote? Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair votes green. Honorable Amber Kenneth-Bott-Crotty, how do you vote? Honorable Amber Kenneth-Bott-Crotty, how do you vote? Honorable Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Elmer P. Begay votes green. Honorable Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote?
Delegate Brown votes green.
Thank you. Honorable Nathaniel Brown votes green. Honorable Raymond Smith Jr., how do you vote? Honorable Amber Kenneth-Bott-Crotty, how do you vote? Chairman, we have 3 members voting in the affirmative, 0 opposing, Chairman not voting, and we have 2 members not voting. Chairman?
Thank you, Kialam, for that roll call vote. We do have a vote of 3 in favor, 0 opposed, Chair not voting, receiving a due pass on this report. Thank you, Mr.
Chairman, Amber
Yes.
Crowdy, Honorable Amber Crowdy, she said she voted green. But she sent a message in. I saw her message.
Miss Nelson, Miss Rosemary Nelson, did you get that?
Yes, I did, Chairman. So we have 4 members voting in the affirmative, 0 opposing, Chairman not voting, and 1 member not voting. Chairman?
I'll get enough for that. We do have count 4 in favor, 0 opposed. Okay, with that, moving down on the list, under old business, let's take all of the reports. We do have one, Miss Carlina. She a constituent. Are you still on the line? I didn't get your last name, Miss Carlina.
Yes, I'm still on the line.
What's your
My
last
name
name?
is Joe. I live in Rough Rock, and the first round of hardship began. Two of my granddaughter didn't get a chance to apply for it, and they still want to get the assistance. And the reason why is they don't have electric, no running water, no computer, and so right now, since they're giving the first round applicant a chance, my granddaughter, the oldest one, she wants to apply. So how does she go about it?
If there's no means like computers, those to Rough Rock chapter should be able to assist you. See if you can get assistance from the chapter to get the application process moving. They have applications there. Hopefully that helps you.
They're not under the. I live in Rough Rock, but my granddaughter, 2 of them, they live in Kayenta. But so what they're going to have to do is report to Kayenta chapter.
Yes, and again, application from there. They should be opening up. On their phone number, they'll let you know when their business hours are, and then make sure you have your CI. Make sure you have your CIBs ready. Okay.
They want to. My granddaughter wants to do online since right now she's not able to come to the phone.
Okay, well, have her Google Navajo Nation Office of Navajo Nation Controller, and there they'll give you a link to where you apply.
Okay, I'm writing this down. Navajo Nation
Office of Controller.
Office of Controller.
Oh, Google that.
Okay.
Google that, and then they'll send you to some links after that.
A hardship link.
If you know the computer, as young people are, they know how to navigate once they Google everything.
When can she apply?
Look out for the press release. As stated earlier in the Office of Controller's report, they'll be doing the press release and giving instructions.
Okay. So she is. Both of my granddaughter will be automatically eligible to apply for the first round.
I can't answer that right now because there's still pending applications that we have to send to first.
I was listening in I was listening in, and then the controller kind of mentioned they already have some applicant on file, and that's why
there'll be a phone line for you to call in once the press release opens up, and they'll give you instructions on the phone line to call, and they'll give you a lot of information that you're asking right now.
Okay. I appreciate for letting me ask this question.
Do you have a pen and paper, Ms. Carlino?
Oh, I do. I'm sitting in the car now.
Call me at 928 271 0350, and I'll talk to you one-on-one after the meeting.
0, isn't it?
0350.
350. And your name was?
Jamie Inyo.
Okay. Okay. Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. Bye.
Thank you. Budget and Finance Committee. Let's move forward on our agenda. And with this, let's, under old business, there's none. New business, there's one item, rescheduling the July 20th, 2021 Budget and Finance Committee meeting. It falls right on the Tuesday of summer session. Therefore, we would need to reschedule this either to July 14th, which is next Tuesday, or the Tuesday after the 20th, which would be July 27th. Shenandoah, I'll need a motion and second to take action on this.
I'll make a motion for 14th. Please, Delegate
Shenandoah, Delegate Elmer P. Begay, a motion to have our next Budget and Finance Committee special meeting on July 14th, 2021. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Chair Henry, this is.
Yeah. I'm trying to get a second on the motion for a special meeting.
Delegate Brown, I'll second.
Delegate Elmer P. Begay. Motion by Elmer P. Begay for July 14th, 2021. Second by Shenandoah, Delegate Nathaniel Brown. So we do have a motion and second established. Is there any questions or comments, committee members? Just one question, Shenandoah.
Chair Henio, this is Peggy. Can I make a statement?
Begay, what time for July 14th?
The same time at 10 o'clock?
10 o'clock? Okay. I think he's muted. Peggy, do you have the floor?
Thank you, Chair. There was an email that was sent out by the Chief Legislative Counsel, and she's asking for the July 14th meeting because of the legislation that needs to go to Budget and Finance, and then thereafter it needs to go to NABI for the summer session.
Peggy, can you hear?
Email.
Can you hear me what I'm saying?
Yes, I did.
Peggy,
I just made a statement on that just for clarification on why we.
Yeah, there's a motion. There's a motion on the floor made by Delegate Elmer P. Begay for July 14, 2021 at 10 a.m. Second by Delegate Nathaniel Brown.
Yes, I just wanted to make sure that the committee members understood that was good to have that meeting on the 14th. It's a Wednesday.
What's that? Is that a Wednesday?
Yes, it is. It's Wednesday, July.
Okay. Shenandoah, Delegate Elmer P. Begay, are you still on the line with us?
Yeah, I'm on the line.
July 14th. July 14th is a Wednesday. Do you still wish to have it on a Wednesday, or will you want to change it to the 13th, which is Tuesday?
You hear me?
July 14th is on Wednesday. Do you wish to keep that day Wednesday, or do you want to change it to the 13th on a Tuesday?
I'll change it to the 13th on Tuesday.
This is Delegate.
Delegate Nathaniel Brown, do you concur?
No, I agreed to the 14th. The 13th, I will be chairing the Navajo Utah Commission. So I'm looking at my calendar. That's why I second the 14th. And then I understand that the legislation will go live on the 14th, not the day before also.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that clarification. Right. Back to Delegate Elmer P. Begay. The 14th on this, I'll be keeping it on the 14th because we do need to entertain legislation that will go live on that date.
I forgot, yeah. I'll keep it on the 14th, yeah.
Agustin Bigahan Akela, Shnanta, Delegate Nathaniel Brown for reminding. Also, Peggy, I have a hard time hearing on this end, but thank you for that comment too. So with that, we do have July 14th, as stated by in the motion and second at 10 a.m. So with this, committee members, are there any questions or comments? Call for the question. Ramona, if you would lead us in a roll call vote.
Sure, roll call vote for rescheduling the regular meeting. Honorable Raymond Smith Jr., how do you vote? Honorable Raymond Smith Jr., how do you vote? Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote? Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote? Honorable Amber Kenneth Bockrati, how do you vote?
Delegate Amber Kenneth Bockrati votes green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Amber Kenneth Bockrati votes green. Honorable Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Elmer P. Begay votes green. Honorable Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote?
Delegate Brown votes green.
Thank you. Honorable Nathaniel Brown votes green. Honorable Raymond Smith Jr., how do you vote? Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote?
Excuse me, what are we voting? I was on mute.
We're voting on rescheduling the meeting, the regular meeting date.
I vote green.
Okay,
July
thank
14th.
you.
Yeah.
Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair votes green. Chairman, we have 4 members voting in the affirmative, 0 opposing. Chairman not voting, and 1 member not voting. Chairman?
Thank you for that. Thank you for that roll call vote. We do have a reschedule a meeting date with a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting for July 14th, 2021. Kashina, with that, that's the only item we have under new business. So moving down, close of business, written announcements. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Yellowhair, motion to adjourn.
Delegate Jimmy Yellowhair, motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Delegate Brown, second.
Delegate Nathaniel Brown, second. So we do have a motion by Delegate Jimmy Yellowhair, second by Delegate Nathaniel Brown to adjourn. Any further questions or comments? Ramona, if you would lead us in a roll call vote to adjourn.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. Roll call vote on motion of the adjournment. Honorable Raymond Smith Jr., how do you vote? Honorable Raymond Smith Jr., how do you vote? Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair votes green. Honorable Amber Kenneth Bockrati, how do you vote?
Delegate Amber Kenneth Bockrati votes green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Amber Kenneth Bockrati votes green. Honorable Elmer P. Begay, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Elmer P. Begay votes green. Honorable Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote?
Delegate Brown votes green.
Thank you. Honorable Nathaniel Brown votes green. Chairman, we have 4 members voting in the affirmative, 0 opposing, chairman not voting, and 1 member not voting. Chairman?
Thank you for that roll call vote. 4 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting to adjourn. We officially adjourned at 12:46 p.m. And I can't have Shnata for being in attendance and all participation. And just be safe and be safe on your travels. Thank you, staff.
Chairman.
Thank you, Chair, and everybody that was in attendance to our Budget and Finance Committee meeting. This concludes our meeting, and so we are adjourned. Thank you.